Blog Talk Radio. You're tuned in to In5d Radio, the next dimension of radio, where we bring you the hottest, in-depth, spiritual, metaphysical, esoteric conversations and news, with your hosts Greg Prescott and Heidi Cole. Get ready for spirit, body, and mind to expand in 3, 2, 1.
Namaste, everyone, and welcome to In5d Radio, coming to you from Sarasota, Florida, every Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, and 12 a.m. midnight in the UK. I'm your host, Greg Prescott from in5d.com, and for the next 2 hours, we're going to be raising the vibration of the planet, galaxy, and universe. Tonight, we're going to be talking about introverts and extroverts, along with the top 10 myths of being an introvert. But first, I'd like to introduce my co-host, coming to you from New York City, singer and songwriter, stunt person, and author of The Subway Diaries, Heidi Cole. Hello, Heidi.
Hey, Greg. How are ya?
I'm doing great, and I'd like to wish you an early happy birthday, and hopefully you won't be spending it in jail.
Right. I know. There is a chance of that, since the 8th is the cutoff date for about 2 years. So I'm prepared. I'm going to get my being taken away kit and bring it with me. Oh, my God.
Wish you
well, today, in This Week in News, we've got some stuff going on. I'll start with a couple stories here. Let's hope, number one, let's hope we're all working towards a world where guns and bullets are no longer needed at all. But for the moment, we seem to remain in this 3D, you have one, so we need one mode. However, there's been a little movement on the Second Amendment issue here in the U.S., a small glimmer of hope, perhaps, to help even out the ammo scales. This week in Mike Adams' Natural News, thanks in every way to alternative media, the Department of Homeland Security, or my favorite, the Department of Human Sacrifice, has planned to purchase and stockpile as much as 1.6 billion more rounds of ammunition, which, by the way, would place the amount of ammunition possessed by individuals in the DHS higher than that possessed by the individual soldiers in the U.S. military. However, that most recent request has been placed on hold temporarily as a pair of U.S. lawmakers are proposing legislation that would prevent all government agencies from storing vast amounts of ammo. What a novel concept, right? Senators Jim Inhofe and Representative Frank Lucas, both Oklahoma Republicans, have introduced in their respective chambers the Ammunition Management for More Obtainability. That last word is a little weird to me. Act of 2013, or the AMMO. The bill, according to a statement from Senator Inhofe, would require the Government Accountability Office, or GAO, to conduct a report on the purchasing of ammunition by all federal agencies, except the Department of Defense, and its effect on the supply of ammunition available to the public. Now, the mere fact that former purchases have been weighed through thus far without any oversight is more than disturbing to me personally. And the fact that this is still one government agency, quote, patrolling another government agency, which would not, in my opinion, be the first choice of solutions, but it's a teeny step away from, well, complete horror show. So the AMMO Act of 2013 will enforce transparency and accountability of the federal agency's ammunition supply, while also protecting law-abiding citizens' access to these resources. Lucas said his interest in this issue was piqued after constituents reported that there were shortages of ammunition in his home state while watching the Department of Homeland Security excessive purchases of ammunition continue unchecked. He says, "We have introduced the AMMO Act of 2013 to curtail these purchases so Americans can exercise their Second Amendment rights without being encumbered by federal government." Lucas also said, he continued, "I was surprised to find out that the DHS has the right to buy up to 750 million rounds of ammunition over the next 5 years, while it already has 2 years' worth of ammo already stockpiled. This is an issue that must be addressed," he says, "and I am pleased that this legislation provides us with the opportunity to do so." Now, DHS Secretary Janet Napolitano has vacillated between denying her office was buying so much ammo to questioning the motive of those who reported the purchases or questioned her at the department about them. Finally, a year ago, Natural News editor and founder Mike Adams reported the first of what would become a series of massive ammo purchases by the DHS. As he publicly tracked the story for months, DHS was at first silent about the purchases and then denied they were occurring, despite the federal purchase orders posted online. And finally, anyone who reported the purchases was branded as a conspiracy theorist. Fast forward to this month, and the DHS is singing a completely different tune now. Now we are told that purchases are just good business, buying in bulk. So you see, it saves the taxpayer money. Call this the Sam's Club excuse, he says. There's no telling at this point, honestly, if the Inhofe-Lucas legislation will pass or if it's just another government bait-and-switch money laundering scheme. But it's an important piece of this government ammo purchase puzzle in that at least some lawmakers may be taking it seriously, at least for now. You can find the article and more on in5d.com, of course, the news section. And on a second topic, near and dear to my heart and body, fluoride, and what we can do about that pesky, brain-numbing, life-leeching chemical. Well, I found something this week that I wanted to share with all of you here in the In5D family. Today in Natural Society News, it was announced that a plant called tulsi, or as many of you may know it, holy basil, which grows all over India, might just be another answer to defluoridating water in poor countries all over the world, or in my case, in little New York City apartments. Research scientists at Rajasthan University have discovered that tulsi can actually replace some of the more expensive alternatives to fluoride removal. They stated that the process is so simple it's downright exciting. Tulsi, or holy basil, was found to actually cleanse water of fluoride. The researchers conducted the experiment in the village of Narkapalli Mandal and by soaking 75 milligrams of holy basil leaves in 100 milliliters of water that had over 7 parts per million of fluoride. After soaking the leaves in the water for a mere 8 hours, the fluoride was reduced to just 1.1 parts per million. Now, the World Health Organization, by the way, said, quote, safe levels of fluoride in water are to be no higher than 1 part per million. So that's really close what the holy basil can achieve. With the recent admittance by Harvard University that fluoride is bad for health, and the continuing news that points to fluoride being responsible for depleting brain capacity and causing everything from ADD to ADHD, or even calcifying the pineal gland, which inhibits important hormonal secretions like melatonin, serotonin, and DMT. It's truly awesome news that such a simple remedy has, in fact, been found. The effects and historical use of fluoride throughout history is vast, and I encourage anyone who is not yet familiar with it and its use on the human species to Google it and or look it up on in5d.com. It will blow your mind. Now, back to the solution. For poor countries, the use of tulsi for cleansing water of fluoride is ideal. And for the rest of the globe, may offer the ability for us to actually skip the high-priced water filters and use natural instead. Now, we all know that having the powers that were, or want to be, or think they are, refrain from dumping huge amounts of the poison sodium fluoride into our water supply to begin with. And that's actually our dream situation. But until that actually happens, this is some pretty good news on how to affordably take most of it back out. Some topsy-turvy world we're in, right? Finally, since where I live, there actually are no tulsi plants, I'll be reading to find out whether holy basil extract that you can get from health food stores, etc., has the same effect on water as the fresh-cut tulsi leaves. And if anyone does find this out, I'd love to know. So namaste and bottoms up. Greg, what's the news today from Sarasota?
Well, the citizen hearing on disclosure ended this past Friday. One of the highlights was an anonymous whistleblower affiliated with the CIA who talked about Project Blue Book and Area 51, along with seeing the actual Roswell UFO and extraterrestrials. Also, Former Senator Mike Gravel said the White House is suppressing evidence of ETs.
Joining us on the program to discuss this is Democratic former Senator and presidential candidate Mike Gravel. Are you convinced? Is there a conspiracy, and how high does it go?
It goes right to the White House, and of course, once the White House takes a position that, well, there's nothing really going on, it just goes down the chain of command. Everybody stands too.
Why would there be a massive government conspiracy to cover up evidence like this?
What we're faced with here is in areas of the media and the government is an effort to marginalize and ridicule people who have specific knowledge. All I know is that there's been thousands and thousands of sightings. There's an extraterrestrial influence that is investigating our planet.
He was shocked by what he saw hovering above their camp, a triangular craft.
We got this in testimony yesterday, which was the smoking gun of the whole issue, and that is that when they saw hovering spacecraft over in Wyoming and South Dakota, over the ICBM missile silos, that the missiles couldn't work.
They reported that the objects were above them, and at that point the missiles started shutting down, disabled.
The military want to keep this secret because they don't want to reveal to the American people that all these trillions of dollars that we spent on this silly defense posture, that they don't work.
You can find the link to both of these videos below in the More Info section of this video. Once again, I'd like to apologize for the clarity of my speech this week. I recently had some oral surgery done on the roof of my mouth, and it's really hard to pronounce my S's, T's, and D's. So bear with me for the next few weeks. Are you an introvert or extrovert? Tonight we're going to be talking about the traits of the introvert and the extrovert, along with the top 10 introvert myths. Now, if you've taken the Briggs-Myers personality test, then feel free to call in and tell us your personality type, and we will discuss your predominant traits and how they fit into your life. I posted an article on in5d today called The Top 10 Myths of Introverts. One of the things I found interesting was that introverts are people who are oversensitive to dopamine. So too much external stimulation overdoses and exhausts them. Conversely, extroverts can't get enough dopamine, and they require adrenaline for the brains to create it. Now, this might be similar to people who have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. So they're hyperactive, and the psychiatrist gives them a prescription for Adderall, which is an amphetamine. Basically, the amphetamine reduces the hyperactivity. Now, I used to have ADHD, and I can tell you that after taking Adderall, I could easily fall asleep within half an hour. So what the study on introverts and extroverts is telling us is that we're all wired differently. For example, someone with a cholesterol level of 350 might be healthier than a person with a cholesterol level of 180. We're given a base number that applies to everybody, but not everybody falls within that range for desired health. In the case of introverts and extroverts, we think differently and predominantly use different hemispheres of the brain, which brings up the issues of education. If the introvert is more in tune with music and the arts, while the extrovert is more mechanical in their thinking process, then how reliable and accurate is the standardized testing in school? Now, Heidi, you took the Briggs-Myers test, but you said that you weren't sure that you necessarily agreed with it. And maybe some other listeners feel the same way, so maybe you can explain why you felt this way.
Well, I guess I agree with, well, I have this thing about tests in general, which I think is best to use. I see or read the word test, and I all of a sudden, I run the other direction to begin with. But, the letters, I'm the third one on your chart that you put. You read it to me. I don't know. You read it to me. Which one I am? That would fit, okay. But then it goes into what my priorities are in life, and it was so far off. Like financial security, like lots of money and possessions, and it was the opposite of who I am. And so it took a really sharp right turn and left me at that point, and that happens a lot to me, though, and I recall that happening in almost every testing situation I've had in my whole life.
Now, from what you told me, you're an INFJ.
Yeah, the third one, right? That's
Right,
the third one?
right.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so once again, yeah, Heidi and I are both introverts, and here we are live on the radio. And I was mentioning this on Facebook, where some other people who are also in this genre, like Santos Bonacci and Kate of Gaia, they're both introverts, and ironically, we're all musicians using that right hemisphere of the brain.
It's so fascinating. I'd like to know more about that, because even when I sing in the subways with an audience of thousands, I still create a little cocoon for myself.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's different than other people who are more like MCs down there, and they're very interactive, and they talk, and I have trouble doing that, being an MC. But so it's interesting that people can have the same profession, performer or whatever, but read differently on those charts. I think it's fascinating.
Mm-hmm. So what we're going to do tonight, we're going to be talking about the top 10 myths of being an introvert, because I know from my own experience, I've done my own testing on Facebook and had people fill out the Briggs-Myers test and then post their final results. And from what I've experienced, it seems that more people that are involved in the spiritual and metaphysical fields are actually introverts. And in the whole number system, they say that approximately 75% of the people in the world are extroverts. But what I'm finding is that in the field of spirituality and metaphysics, it's the exact opposite. About 75 or 80% of us are actually introverts. So with that being said, let's move. Yeah, it is. It really is fascinating, because what that's telling you is that we tend to look within for answers instead of the external stimuli that's needed for most.
And I believe I believe we're also observers. I've noticed that we see big picture. I mean, here we are talking for 2 hours, but I feel like we stand back, perhaps. An introvert would stand back and observe and take this piece and that piece and another piece and connect and wait to connect the dots before making decisions or buying someone else's connection of the dots.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're able to put together new paradigms and new ways of thinking instead of perhaps just taking the one that's there. But I find it's I think it's very interesting. I think the observing portion is really a key part, though, to sit back quietly and watch, which is what I do a lot. I just take in all this information and then let it sift out to something that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Me too. Before we get to the top 10 myths, you are an INFJ. So just take a look at some of the celebrities or famous people that are INFJs. They include Plato, Carl Jung, who I love, Mahatma Gandhi, Thomas Jefferson, Ron Paul, Woodrow Wilson. Yeah. I'm just scrolling down the list. Noam Chomsky. Yep. Ayatollah Khomeini, Osama bin Laden, Adolf Hitler.
I knew he was on that list. I'm like, no.
Oh, gosh.
Adolf.
Yeah. Marilyn Manson.
I remember seeing that.
George Harrison. Al Pacino. Michelle Pfeiffer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Let's see.
Wow.
There's a few more in here. Yeah, it's quite the eclectic bunch right there, but all of them are introverts. Now, about INFJs, you're holistic visionaries oriented toward contemplation. Do you find that to be true? Do you contemplate a lot? Do you have a lot of visions about...
In fact, I'm always grateful for someone to break my contemplation, because it's a little much.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
They're amongst the types with the highest average IQ.
Yeah, that too. Anyone who can distract me from that is a godsend.
Uh-huh.
So.
Strongly linked to the dependent personality.
Wait, what?
Strongly linked to the dependent personality.
See, that's what it leaves me. I am so the opposite. I don't know if that means I am dependent or if I'm attracted to dependent people.
Right.
But I'm not either. I'm quite, I could do this myself.
Well, the next one says somewhat linked
to the extreme.
Uh-huh. Somewhat linked to the depressive and narcissistic personalities.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
I would hope not. I tend to, I usually think of everyone else before me, but maybe that's somewhere lurking for the future.
Okay. More common in women than in men. And the final one is repress their extroverted sensing function, meaning they may forego living life to its fullest.
I don't know. Feels pretty darn full, but I guess there's always more. Yeah.
Well, to go on, this says that this is the rarest type overall, so there's not a lot of INFJs out there.
Really?
Yeah. It's rarest amongst men, but even with women, it's like virtually nothing.
How can Marilyn Monroe be not living life to its full? It's Marilyn Manson.
Manson, yeah.
Wait, Manson, or I don't know. Some of those people. How can you say those people were not living their lives to their fullest?
Ron Paul. Ron Paul.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is where I kind of drop my pencil. I was like,
well, and that's the thing. These are just personalities.
I don't know.
These are just personalities that have these particular letters associated with them. It doesn't mean that they are cut and dried, all of these things that we've been talking about.
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, some things fit, and then some things are so opposite that so then you wonder if the things that fit are, some things are completely, you just toss them in the garbage disposal, they're so far off. And then some things are definitely on. The letters seem to be on. And then as I told you earlier in the week, the letters were correct, but then the traits really didn't match up too well with who I am, in this incarnation at least. How about you? What letters fit you?
Well, I'm an INFP, but I see in the chat room, Wildfire is an ISFP. So let's take a look at that. ISFP. ISFP, okay. They are called the artists. So I'd be curious if, Wildfire, if you're into art. And we have a couple INFJs in there that we'll have to check out. But yeah, they're called the artist. So they have that skill, and that's once again that's using the right hemisphere of the brain. So some famous people include Ulysses S. Grant, Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis, Nero, Brad Pitt, Justin Timberlake, Audrey Hepburn, Elizabeth Taylor, Nicole Kidman, Prince, Bob Dylan, Paul McCartney, Michael Jackson, David Bowie, Lady Gaga. Do you believe she's an introvert? Wow. Eminem is an introvert. And speaking of Marilyn Monroe, she is an ISFP. Lady Diana, Princess of Wales. Britney Spears, Paris Hilton, Beyonce, Rihanna, Christina Aguilera. Wow. Lots of musical people here. Mick Jagger. Go ahead.
Do you think the Illuminati mind control media goes through the Briggs-Meyer before they choose their next pop star victim?
It really makes you wonder because there are.
I know, right?
Yeah, there's so many here. Prince Harry, Trent Reznor, Anya, Pamela Anderson. Wow, there are a ton of them. Okay, about ISFPs. Unassuming yet passionate, strongly linked to the dependent personality, somewhat linked.
That again. There's that again.
Yeah, yeah. Somewhat linked to the histrionic and avoidant personalities, more common in women than men, and they repress their extroverted thinking function, meaning that they sometimes fail to draw logical conclusions about their situation and act on them. So, what's that?
You don't hear that word histrionic. You don't hear that word very often.
Okay.
Some other use it.
Well, yeah, I actually have a psychology background, and the histrionic personality is somebody that really draws attention toward themselves. They'll do that in the woe is me kind of thing, you know, that everything's coming down, the world's crapping on me, and woe is me kind of attitude.
Trauma queen.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what a histrionic personality is. So. Some more traits: they have a keen awareness of their environment. They live in the present moment. They enjoy a slower pace. They dislike dealing with theory or abstract thought unless they see a practical application. They're faithful and loyal to people and ideas. They're individualistic. They take things seriously, although they frequently appear not to. They have a special bond with children and animals. They're quiet and reserved, except with people they know extremely well. They're trusting, sensitive, and kind. They're service-oriented. They're driven to help others. That's wonderful. Extremely well-developed appreciation for aesthetic beauty. Likely to be original and unconventional. They learn best with hands-on training. They hate being confined to strict schedules and regimens. That's me too. I hate that.
Me three.
It's
amazing I show up.
Yeah. They need space and freedom to do things their own way, and they dislike mundane, routine tasks, but will perform them if necessary. Now, possible career paths for the ISFP include the artist, musician, composer, designer, child care, early childhood development, social worker, counselor, teacher, psychologist, veterinarian, forest ranger, or pediatrician. We didn't check that out for you, what an INFJ, what the best careers are for you. Let's take a peek at that too.
Do I need a career change?
No, I think you're pretty good with what you're at. The INFJ is called the protector, and well, here you are. Musicians and artists, photographers, child care, early child development, psychiatrists, psychologists, alternative health care practitioners, medical doctors, dentists, teachers, clergy, and religious work. But yeah, definitely musicians and artists.
Yeah, okay.
So they covered you.
Along with, yeah, that's reassuring.
Uh-huh. So,
yeah, and we were mentioning actually how along with all the introverts who are doing this work on air and sweating about it every week or day, that so many of them are also musicians. I don't even know one who is not a musician. It's crazy.
Isn't it?
Kathy Buckla. And yeah, it's like we all own guitars and sing and songwrite and at one level or another. It's really it's kind of hysterical.
Well, we have an ENFP. I see Sherry. So we're going to take
what's that?
We're going to take a peek at that. ENFP. Okay, some famous people include Mark Twain, Oscar Wilde, Aldous Huxley, Julian Assange, Ralph Nader, Walt Disney, Kurt Vonnegut, Michio Kaku, who else? Fidel Castro, Muammar Gaddafi, Hugo Chavez, Ellen DeGeneres, Katie Couric, Rachel Maddow, Orson Welles, Oliver Stone, Gwen Stefani, Robin Williams, Jerry Seinfeld. What's the deal with ENFPs? I would like to know. Yeah, that's my Seinfeld imitation. George Galloway, Erica Jong, Judith Butler, and there's quite a few of them actually here. So we're going to move down to the about ENFPs. They're quirky and verbally fluid people persons. So they're strongly linked to the histrionic personality, the woe is me, drama queen thing, somewhat linked to the narcissistic, hypomanic, and borderline personalities, more common in women than in men, and they repress their introverted sensing function, meaning they sometimes experience flighty and inconsistent cognitive states and neglect to reflect on their past. Now, ENFP, we're going to take a peek at your possible careers. Okay, here we go. ENFP are called the inspirers. So you inspire people. You're project-oriented, you're bright and capable, you're warm and genuine. You're extremely intuitive and perceptive about people. You're able to relate to people on their own level. You're service-oriented. You like to put the needs of others above your own. You're future-oriented. You dislike performing routine tasks. You need approval and appreciation from others. You're cooperative and friendly, creative and energetic, well-developed verbal and written communication skills, natural leaders but do not like to control people. Yay for you. Resist being controlled by others. Yay for you again. You can work logically and rationally by using your intuition to understand the goal and to work backwards towards it. And you're usually able to grasp difficult concepts and theories. Now, possible career paths for the ENFP include consultant, psychologist, entrepreneur, actor, teacher, counselor, politician, diplomat, writer, journalist, television reporter, computer programmer, scientist, engineer, or artist. So I hope that kind of covered some of the stuff that you were looking for there.
It's interesting which things.
Sherry said, F you.
I know, Sherry, right? Like, who wants this dissection? It's crazy. I mean,
Well.
I agree, Sherry. I don't know.
I love the histrionic part. Just good. Just good.
Everyone seems, I mean, this histrionic word is hysterical.
Uh-huh.
I think it should be on a T-shirt because it's just not used enough, that word.
It is funny. It's funny, but, you know.
Yeah.
Actually, okay, I'm going to look in the mirror, and we're going to take a look at the INFP because I do know that a lot of our listeners are INFPs. Wow, it's all the coolest people in the world that are associated. I'm not kidding, no. Just
you don't have Hitler in that.
no.
You have Hitler.
No, I actually have George Orwell, though, 1984. Augustine John Kerry, the Zionist, Skull and Bones goon. Who else? J.K. Rowling, Homer, Edgar Allan Poe, John Lennon, yay, Jim Morrison, Kurt Cobain, Johnny Depp, Heath Ledger, Nicolas Cage, Bjork, Tori Amos, Fiona Apple. Who else? Andy Warhol, Teller from Penn and Teller, Louis C.K., and Mary-Kate Olsen. Okay. Like that matters. Okay. I apologize.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I apologize.
So which one is she? There are two of them, right? There's two of them, Olsen?
Yeah, she's the INFP. I'm not sure who the other one is. But about us. Okay. Here's where we look in the mirror. Idiosyncratic dreamers with strong imaginations. Yep. Strongly linked to the avoidant personality. Yep. You know, if I hate confrontation. I am so non-confrontational. I will stand up, though, especially for those who can't speak. But when it comes to mundane arguments, you can probably ask my ex-wife about this. I'd just walk away or just nod my head and stare straightly and, you know, and just let it go in one ear, out the other. So
wait. Before you go further, is histrionic in yours?
Yep.
Okay, go ahead.
Somewhat linked to the dependent, histrionic, and negativistic personalities. Screw that. with me. More common in men and women than in men. And we tend to repress our extroverted thinking function, meaning we sometimes preserve our own opinion in the face of facts and evidence to the contrary. And that's definitely true, especially with the crap we're being fed in school and by the mainstream media. Now, common careers. Now, INFP is called the idealist. And some more of the traits include strong value systems, warmly interested in people, service-oriented, usually putting the needs ahead of others above their own, definitely. Loyal and devoted to people and causes. Future-oriented, heck yeah. Let's go 5D. Growth. Always want to be growing in a positive direction. Heck yeah. Creative.
Oh, yeah.
Creative and inspirational. I hope so. Flexible and laid back, unless a ruling principle is violated. Hell yeah. We're rebels in that situation. Yeah. Sensitive and complex at the same time. Yeah. Dislike dealing with details and routine work. Yep. Original and individualistic. Out of the mainstream. Definitely. Excellent written communication skills. I hope so. Prefer to work alone, and they have problems working on teams. I think we're a pretty good team, though. Heidi. But,
oh, yeah, we're doing good.
Yeah, definitely. But, yeah, you know, when it comes to writing articles and stuff like that, yeah, I definitely like working by myself. And value deep and authentic relationships. Yeah, definitely deep, you know, especially deep. And want to be seen and appreciated for who they are. And that's true, too, because, you know, we don't pretend to be someone else, and we see all these people who don't have a clue of who they are pretending to be someone they're not. So, yeah, you know, just appreciate us for who we are, and that's good. So possible careers include writers. So, yeah, I write on in5d. Counselors and social workers. Yeah, I was a counselor before I was doing this. Teachers and professors. I have done teaching. I taught a class on pharmacology when I was working as an opioid counselor. Psychiatrists, musicians, yes, and, well, yes, no, yes, not a psychiatrist, but psychologist, yeah. And clergy, religious workers, no. Big no for that, but yeah, a severe interest in theology, especially astrotheology. So yeah, I'd say overall, they pretty much hit the nail on the head. So if there's any INFPs out there listening and you agree to that, give us a shout. Tell us in the chat room. What we're going to do, though, is we're going to move on.
Yeah, and if there's anything else, too, also, anyone needs to talk about, feel free to call in if anything's on your mind, because there's a lot going on, of course, and don't let Briggs-Meyer box you in. If you have stuff you want to talk about, feel free to call up, buzz in. Where everyone would love to hear your thoughts du jour, I'm sure.
Well, it's probably a good thing that the listeners can't necessarily see what's going on in the chat room and what some of the people are saying. Speaking of,
that word is quite popular.
And speaking of FU, just kidding. So what we're going to do is move on to the top 10 myths of being an introvert. So myth number 1 is introverts don't like to talk.
Oh, yeah. That's a myth.
Yeah, that's why I was quiet.
Right.
I waited for you to say something first.
Oh, you got me.
Uh-huh.
And then you became histrionical.
Yeah. Well, what do you think about that?
I think it's a lie. I think that's which is so funny because then everyone thinks we're extroverts and we're not.
No.
We've seen a lot and we want to tell people all this stuff that's going on, you know?
Exactly.
I don't know. It's a real dichotomy. I agree. It's quite a dichotomy.
Well, introverts don't say something unless they have something to say, you know, and they'll sit there and they'll listen, they'll take things in, but somebody's talking about this hot air and BS topic, you're gonna like roll your eyes and look elsewhere or think about butterflies or who knows.
Well, and what about extroverts? Are they always chatty?
I would believe so. That would be the tendency to at least want to be able to be with people and be part of the conversation, if nothing else.
So introverts are not always quiet, but extroverts are primarily vocal. Yeah. Okay.
Well, that's funny. Phantom 2012 goes, I would think that introverts talk to themselves more than extroverts. No reason to be ashamed of talking to yourself unless you answer yourself. That's great.
Well, I think that's highly efficient.
Yeah,
to be able to question and answer. It's like your own personal game show, right?
Yeah. Well, I guess as long as you're not talking to yourself in third person, like that Seinfeld episode. Greg would never do that.
Oh, yeah.
God, that drives me nuts.
That third person is scary. Yeah, it's a little frightening.
So myth number 2, introverts are shy. Now, yeah, I mean, I am. So how much myth that is, but...
like in crowds. I don't know anyone in the chat room, but going to parties, it's hard for me to go to parties. I fake it. I try to fake it, but I'll sometimes get overrun with incredible fatigue before a party. I'll think I just need to sleep, and it's not. It's just anxiety about going to a party. And whereas just one-on-one is a lot easier. And but performing is actually easier than just hanging out randomly at a big party or something like that for me.
I know.
Again, it's my own little space.
Well, I'll tell you, back in my crazy bar days, I'd go to these, college bars and hang out, and all the girls I dated actually made the first move on me. They would come up to me because I'm just too shy. I'm not that kind of person that's going to come up. And number 2, I don't have a BS pickup line because they're so fake. I wouldn't know what to say. So, that's just me. I've been shy, for all my life, and that is true. But now what they go on to say that is shyness has nothing to do with being an introvert. Introverts are not necessarily afraid of people. What they need is a reason to interact. They don't interact for the sake of interacting. If you want to talk to an introvert, just start talking. Don't worry about being polite. That's true. I agree with that.
That's what I say to everyone in the subways. Everyone texts me afterwards or Facebook. I saw you in the subways. I'm like, say hi. I won't because I never do. I always have to wait for everyone else, all the other thousands of people to say hi first. But when they do, I'm quite chatty.
Well, I'll tell you, when I go for a morning walk on the beach, I'll smile at people, and I will say hi to them before they say hi to me. So I guess in that way I'm not shy, but also what I'm doing too. I think I mentioned this in one of the articles. When I go for a morning walk on the beach, in my mind I'm saying I love you to everyone, but I'll just smile, nod my head, or say hi. But in my mind I'm just putting that energy out there of I love you.
Well, if you said I love you to everyone,
oh my God.
Seriously, you'd be arrested within 3 minutes.
Probably, and that's so sad.
Well,
yeah.
Well, actually, I do say I love you when I'm sitting on the trains and people talk to me and ask me why I'm there. Then I say because I love you, and they kind of get really freaked out. And I've yet to be arrested for that yet.
Yet. I think the arrest might be coming up on your birthday. I hope not, but let's. No.
I really don't. Yeah, the cops say that I won't survive central booking. They've told me that a number of times.
Wow.
So, yeah, I really do not want to be. But if it's with a bunch of other, people who are standing up for Washington Square Park, I mean, that's a party.
Mm-hmm.
I hope they have good food because, so what's next?
Okay, myth number 3 is introverts are rude. Screw that. No, I'm just kidding. Introverts often don't see a reason for beating around the bush with social pleasantries. They want everyone
Yeah.
just to be real and honest. Unfortunately, this is not acceptable in most settings, so introverts can feel a lot of pressure to fit in, which they can find exhausting. What do you think?
Oh my God, yes, that is, okay, that's spot on. And then I don't think they are rude. I think they're perceived as rude because we're not good at the BS, so we seem like aloof or uninterested, which that's true, or, until something's really interesting. So I can't do the nonsense stuff, the small talk, for maybe 30 seconds. That's the limit, maybe 15. I mean, but I'll leave if it's just a long night of that before. And so, yeah, it might seem rude, but I don't think we are rude. I think it's either real or it's not.
Well, a lot of people will also say that you're antisocial or a recluse, and that's not true either. You just kind of pick and choose. And sometimes it might appear to be antisocial, but you just don't want to be part of the mainstream, all the crap that they're doing. So if that's antisocial, then it is what it is.
Yeah, sometimes I wish I could just, I know I look at people who go out every night and do mindless for hours, and that would be really cool instead of like watching David Icke all night long. Like, it sounds kind of, if I could do that and enjoy it and not worry about the world, I think it would be quite refreshing. But I can't hang in there very long with that stuff.
Well, let's check out myth number 4. Introverts don't like people. On the contrary, introverts intensely value the friends they have. They can count on their close friends. They can count their close friends on one hand. If you're lucky enough for an introvert to consider you a friend, you probably have a loyal ally for life. Once you have earned their respect as being a person of substance, you're in.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's quality. We're looking for quality of friends, not like the extrovert that wants a cajillion friends and so on and so forth. Quality is definitely better than quantity.
And with those friends, perhaps you're able to get straight to the point quickly within the first few seconds without a lot of pleasantries. You can just talk about stuff, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and chances are you're going to be like-minded people, so you'll have a lot to talk about too. Myth number 5. Yeah, and butterflies and. Myth number 5. Introverts don't like to go out in public. Nonsense. Introverts just don't like to go out into public for as long. They also like to avoid the complications that are involved in public activities. They take in data and experiences very quickly, and as a result, don't need to be there for long or to get it. They're ready to go home, recharge, and process it all. In fact, recharging is absolutely crucial for the introverts.
Yeah, agreed.
Well, we were kind of talking about this too. If I'm at a party, this big gala event, and you're in this big ballroom, I'm going to be on the outside of the ballroom, looking in, watching people, thinking, okay, I'm ready to go home. I've had enough. I wouldn't want to be there to begin with, but except for when we have an in5d gathering, which we're kind of talking about at Fiesta Key sometime, maybe this year, but that would be cool because it's a lot of introverts and like-minded people. But generally, yeah, so big social events, I'm not all about that. Are you, Heidi?
You just see this big circle and you can see this big circle in an in5d gathering. No one's in the middle. Everyone's in the exterior in a big circle, and there's just sand in the middle. It would be funny.
That would be.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm always trying to figure out, how I can fake a drink because I don't drink, and how I can make it look like I'm like everyone else. And maybe I'll just go over here and get another lime or a lemon or just something to occupy myself, so I don't look really out of place. And they had that question on there about outside or inside of rooms. I think at an event, do you stand? And I was trying to remember, and I'm pretty much, I put myself in my mind on the inside of a room in a party and then the outside, and I felt much more comfortable somewhere along the edges watching.
Yeah.
Watching.
Well, Wildfire in the chat room said, people watching. That's what we do.
Yeah.
And I love people watching. Yeah, it's, I go to the beach often by myself, and I know a lot of INFPs can relate to that, or other introverts, that you can go out and do stuff on your own and not feel like you have to be with people. And I love people watching. And that's why I got into the field of psychology, because I love learning why people do what they do. And you learn so much by watching people.
Oh, I go to Times Square. I call it, I just sit in this, they have this cement park. It's not a park. It's just cement with like, I call it white trash park, because it's just like these fold-up Kmart tables, and everyone sits in them. And I just sit there for hours and watch people. I love it. I just love sitting there and watching everyone from all over the world go by while we're sitting in those plastic lawn chairs, which is so funny for New York. We're all sitting in plastic lawn chairs in the middle of Times Square.
Oh, that's great.
But it's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Myth number 6, introverts always want to be alone. Introverts are perfectly comfortable with their own thoughts. They think a lot. They daydream. They like to have problems to work on, puzzles to solve. But they can also get incredibly lonely if they don't have anyone to share their discoveries with. They crave an authentic and sincere connection with one person at a time. So to you introverts, actually, if you're looking for someone to talk to, I know I've mentioned this several times on In5d Radio, but there's a live chat at the bottom of every page on in5d.com. So, check it out. There's always somebody there who's willing to chat. It doesn't matter if it's 3 a.m., no matter where you are in the world, there's always somebody chatting on In5d Radio. So what do you think?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, go ahead.
I was going to ask, do you think that introverts always want to be alone?
No, I think it's if I had, I love my alone time, but when I have something, there's a really, really fine-tuned balance. For me, I'm speaking for me personally,
mm-hmm.
And I never thought myself introvert or extrovert before. I never really thought about it until we did all this. But I find that I love my alone time, but there's a tipping point where it becomes almost counterproductive for me to be with me.
Okay.
And the energy in the space gets kind of like I was saying, I like a break from my brain, from my intelligence, from my thinking, I love to be snapped out of it. But so at that point, I'm more than grateful to be mixed up with other people's energies. I really love it because it's almost like someone puts an apple in the other end of the scale that was formerly empty, so it balances it out for a minute. But on the other hand, when I need to be alone, I need to be alone, and that's why people who are friends with me on Facebook, they'll see I bike and I'll run for 2 hours by myself. I'll bike for 3.5, 4 hours by myself, and to me, that's heaven. And if someone wants to come with me, I'm always like, that's fine, but I'm going to go fast and I'm going to go far, and it's kind of like, and it's kind of like I enjoy the solo time tremendously. It's really important to me, and it's very spiritual for me too. So I love being, but it's a balance. I couldn't be alone all the time forever and ever, but I couldn't be. I plot myself in the middle of the subways and thousands of people around, noise, smells, craziness. But the only way I can do that is because I can go back and be completely solo, and replenish afterwards. I couldn't do that if I was living in a group house or something. Couldn't do it. I don't think so. I need the balance, really kind of fine-tuned balance for me.
And I can relate. I can definitely relate to that. I get a lot of work done on my alone time, and I really do treasure and appreciate it. But also, when you're with like-minded people, it helps to bring out the creative genius that's in all of us, and whether it's inspiration or whatever. So just the exchanging of ideas with other people is a great way to tap into that. So, here's another example. I remember going to the beach with my ex-wife, and she's an extrovert, and she would kind of ask, what do you think about? And nothing. And some people have the hardest time understanding that principle, that you can actually be sitting there thinking about nothing. It's so easy for me to do, but then you get into this conversation, well, you got to be thinking about something. Well, now I'm thinking about what I'm going to be answering your question, but previously I was thinking about nothing,
Right.
Yeah, but you can be, conversely, you can be at the beach with two introverts. You can both sit there for an hour, not say anything, and it's not like you're antisocial. It's not like you don't like or appreciate each other's company. You're just loving the moment and being in that moment together without necessarily having to say something.
I think it's so fascinating to watch this dynamic we're talking about now, the introvert extrovert, because I have friends who are couples who are like a couple who are both extroverts. Now that I know the difference, they're obviously both extroverts, and they actually have to plan home dates because otherwise they're out on the town every night. And they're like, yeah, we're going to force ourselves to stay in tonight. And I have to do the opposite. I have to force myself to go out and be all clubby and stuff like that. But they're so cool because they're both the same, so they feed off that. They're always on the go. They're always at some bar or club or something like that. And I just think it's fascinating that's how they thrive. And I'm like, how can you do that and never needs to meditate, and they're happy, completely happy, and enlightened and smart and aware.
Yeah, as long as it works. We have a drum circle here at Siesta Key every Sunday night, and I'll go to that by myself. And sometimes I'll sit inside or on the outside edges of the circle and watch the drummers play and watch the dancers dancing in the center of it. And sometimes I just sit far away from the drum circle and listen to the beat going on and just meditate to the sun setting or whatever. But I really enjoy doing that alone. It'd be cool to do it with someone else, but I honestly don't call people up and say, hey, what are you doing tonight? Do you want to go to the drum circle? I just go. So and the good thing about that too is you always have your own schedule. You don't have to, and I know it might sound selfish, but you don't have to wait on other people. Are you ready yet kind of thing, or I'm ready to leave, are you ready yet kind of thing. So and in some ways it has its advantages too. So
but I also like the adventure of going to things like that, like concerts in the park and stuff, and you never know who you're going to meet, someone, new people. And so I which it seems kind of weird for an introvert, but I like the adventure of not knowing what will be around the corner for me, because maybe it does fit with an introvert, but it feels like a very personal adventure versus something that a group of people plan, and then you pretty much know how it's going to go. And I kind of like the unknown of who you might bump into, what you might see, what you might experience. I like that. I like the unknown.
Now, Dream Master in the chat room said, I'm quite comfortable with being alone, never lonely. I can fit in a party and become a center of discussion. When I get called up, big things shift within circles. Other than that, I fly under the radar. So yeah, I can relate to that, except for really becoming the center of discussion. I'm not crazy about that, even though that's what we're kind of doing here on in5d radio. But I liked what Dream Master said about you can be alone but never lonely. That I like that, because you can be your own entertainment at times too. So
I sometimes feel more alone if I'm out with a group of people. I don't know why. I feel sometimes more, because I think it's mostly the small talk thing. It's really draining for me. Really draining. If it's a group of people who are just in a different place, it's really exhausting, and I feel really out of place.
Or if you're with a bunch of people.
Better for me.
Yeah, if you're with a bunch of people that are materialistic or ego-minded, I mean, that would drive me nuts, wouldn't it?
Yeah. But if you're with, one person who's on the same plane, it's so awesome and energizing, and you could, honestly, you can be stuck in traffic and it's cool. It doesn't matter, you know.
That's good. That's a great attitude. Myth number 7, introverts are weird. Introverts are often individualists. Introverts are often individualists. They don't follow the crowd. They prefer to be valued for their novel ways of living. They think for themselves, and because of that, they often challenge the norm. They don't make most decisions based on what is popular or trendy. Definitely.
Oh, yeah.
So being weird isn't a bad
thing. That's
thing.
so interesting.
Yeah.
This is so I don't know where you're reading all this from, but it's so fascinating because it's all the opposite of what people think are introverts. You know, I mean, that basically you've just described a trendsetter or something, or not. You know, like Einstein was. I don't know if he was an introvert, but do you know what I mean? He's not. He's beating his own drum.
He was.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
I got this off of today's article. I posted it today on in5d.com. So.
Yeah. Interesting. So fascinating.
But yeah, you know, it goes on to say that we often challenge the norm, and you know, we don't make up our minds based on what everyone else is saying. That is so true. So true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Myth number 8.
Definitely true.
Introverts are aloof nerds. Okay. Introverts are people who primarily look inward, paying close attention to their thoughts and emotions. It's not that they are incapable of paying attention to what is going on around them. It's just that their inner world is so much more stimulating and rewarding to them.
Okay, this is beginning to sound a little narcissistic. Yeah, you mentioned that word at the beginning.
Uh-huh.
So maybe that's what they meant. But, well, I guess, you know, 5D, 4D, more interesting than 3D. We touched on that before. Dreams more interesting than, you know, yeah, I mean, out of the box more interesting than in the box? Sure.
And definitely looking more inward, too. You know, the extrovert's going to look for that external stimulation, and they see that in numbers of people and groups of people around them. But, you know, when it's like us introverts, you know, we're going to look inside for answers. We're going to try to figure things out on our own.
So are all the people in the chat room and listening, are they, you think, I wish we could take a poll. I wish there was some app.
I'm guessing.
Inside the app. We could take they're introverts. I mean, we're doing all this introvert stuff, and if they're awake and aware and doing this, I'm thinking they're thinkers and primarily and have an introvert gene in them. But I'm just wondering.
Well, actually, yeah, you know, according to my poll that I did, you know, most of the people that are in this genre are introverts. So I wasn't really expecting any phone calls tonight. Myth number 8.
That's so funny.
Introverts, oh, no, I'm sorry, myth number 9. Introverts don't know how to relax and have fun. Oh, yeah, that's a myth. Introverts typically relax at home or in nature, not in busy public places. Introverts are not thrill seekers and adrenaline junkies. If there's too much talking and noise going on, they shut down. Their brains are too sensitive to the neurotransmitter called dopamine. Introverts and extroverts have different dominant neural pathways, and I agree with that. And that's what I was kind of talking about before, about the whole educational system's got to be revamped, where you know, you're teaching all this more mechanical stuff to the extroverts and more public speaking kind of stuff as well. Whereas the introverts, you're going to be more, you know, music and art oriented and using that right hemisphere of the brain.
And in a room full of screaming kids, like, it's so overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
It's so hard for some people to learn in that environment where everyone's throwing spitballs across the table. You know, it's like, But I don't know. I agree. But who was it who asked on my wall if people can be both introvert and extrovert? Someone did, and I'm thinking about what you just said. And I mean, I'm a stunt person and I sing in Times Square, so those are both. I don't know if it's thrill seeker. Well, the thing is, for me, it's really not. It's more zen. People think it's adrenaline. It's very zen. It's very calm and focused. So it's more like crouching tiger, hidden dragon stuff. But and then the singing is also meditative. So I guess you're right. It's just on the exterior it sounds adrenaline, but it's really not. It's more very focused and tiny. It seems like the opposite, but it's very focused and tiny. It's just teeny. Stunts are very tiny, and because they're all mind. They're all mind first.
Well, in the beginning of that too, it said that introverts typically relax at home or in nature, and that is so true. That.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. All my hands are up. Definitely. Craig, did we lose you?
Oh yeah, no, I'm sorry. I accidentally hit mute. So
okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure where I cut off, but
just relaxing nature or at home.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes.
Yeah, it's so true. If I was at a party, I'd much rather have the party be at my house where I'm hosting the party than be at somebody else's and just feeling uncomfortable. So.
Yeah, or not have a party at all.
Exactly.
That was better because you don't have to clean up.
Yeah. Myth number 10. Introverts can fix themselves and become extroverts, and that brings up a good point too. I'll read a. There's actually what's called an ambivert, and that's half introvert, half extrovert, where it's a really balanced part, but they don't take that into the Briggs-Myers equation. So, like I said, that's called an ambivert, and I wanted to bring that up beforehand. Yeah, and I know a lot of people that are kind of teeter-tottering between, if you're like 51% extrovert and 49% introvert, you're pretty much, and that's what Sherry's saying in the chat room, that's me, you're pretty much an ambivert, and ideally that's where everybody should be, but, we kind of have our own sides. I'm not sure. Yeah, because what you're doing is...
Why should we?
Well, it's like, it's the ultimate balance where you're using both hemispheres of your brain equally.
Oh. Would binaural beats help make you is it ambivert?
Ambivert. Yeah.
So it's like ambidextrous, but it's the version of using both hands.
Sherry calls herself a histrionic ambivert.
No, I love it. That's the T-shirt.
That's
Sherry,
funny.
That's your T-shirt. Yes.
That's funny.
Yeah. I love it.
That's great.
So Sherry, you're completely balanced. That's awesome.
Yeah. So when you're looking at your Briggs-Myers numbers, if your numbers are like anywhere from like 45 to 49%, then you're right along that line of being an ambivert. And I was just, I remember watching a video too this past week where they were talking about, and it was the guy they were just talking to, Jay, what's his last name? The whistleblower insider dude, Jay.
Which?
You said you just contacted him on Skype.
Oh, Jay. Oh, yeah, Jay. Yeah. The MK Ultra Illuminati guy.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Well, he was saying that ideally, you want to be right and left hemisphered people, and you don't want people being all New Age, and you don't want people being all Christian and whatever else is on the other side. But you want to be somewhere in the middle. You want people to ask questions, to stand up, to have that balance. And when you're right brain and balanced, you think that everything is all just love and light and everything else. But you do want to ask
right.
questions. You want to address the issues that are going on as well, and still keep that love and light without fear. So moving on, what it says about introverts can fix themselves and become extroverts. A world without introverts would be a world with few scientists, musicians, artists, poets, filmmakers, doctors, mathematicians, writers, and philosophers. Excuse me. That being said, there are still plenty of techniques an extrovert can learn in order to interact with introverts. Introverts cannot fix themselves and deserve respect for their natural temperament and contributions to the human race. In fact, one study showed that the percentage of introverts increases with IQ. The percentage?
Wait, what?
Yeah. One study showed that the percentage of introverts increases with IQ. So the more intelligent you are, the more of a chance you're going to be an introvert.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Well,
getting back to what we were just talking about, introverts can fix themselves and become extroverts is the myth. And if you are there somewhere on the 40-45% of one side or the other, then you're pretty close to becoming both.
Ambivert.
Yeah.
Okay. I know this whole word "fix" is like saying, well, homosexuals can be fixed or repaired. It just feels a little weird, but okay.
So, but
It just seems.
well, you know that.
Because are you there? Greg? Hello.
I'm sorry, my mic muted on me. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, maybe we need like an introvert day, you know, like they have National Women's Day, and it sounds like we need a voice.
Well, you know, if
everyone's trying to fix us.
If I'll tell you what, if tonight's topic was basically about extroverts, the phone lines would have been lit up and we would have been on all night. But
right, I know.
That being said, I know you have some stuff you got to get to tonight, and I do too. So what we're going to end up doing is we're going to end up cutting off tonight's topic a little short. And is there anything else that you wanted to mention, Heidi?
I don't think so. I'm sorry about the sirens in Manhattan, but I'm loving all the. There's a lot of laughter in the chat room. It's hysterical. It's like LOL, LMAO. Everyone's laughing. So yay!
Yeah.
I know. It's just like one big party, one big introvert party.
It's how much they're chatting, but I know they're like paranoid. They're afraid. They're definitely afraid to call in and chat with us. So.
Totally cool. They can LOL all night long in font. Font is awesome, you know.
It is. Okay, so, well, next week our special guest will be astrologer Jim Dellicolli, better known as Panther Jim 1995 on YouTube, as we'll be talking about current and upcoming astrological alignments and how they will affect our spiritual evolution. We're going to close out tonight's show, as we always do, with a song written and performed by Heidi Cole called Walk On Through the Rain. So on behalf of Heidi, this is Greg Prescott from in5d.com. Namaste, everyone.
Namaste.
Why those cards dealt, but I see it all, and I'll take the fall. Yes, I see it all. Yeah, there are days that feel stacked, things I believed in a crack, and then night begins. Yeah. Though it feels a losing hand, I don't fold my cards to take a stand. No, strength has a way of finding truth within. But I feel it all. And I'll take it all. Yes, I feel it all. Yeah, walk on through the rain. Don't stop me, I won't be afraid. Got you, I can play your game. Won't you watch me? Yeah, walk on, walk on.